Hello everyone. Today we are going to see the topic dopamine. Dopamine hormone. So let's begin to today's lecture. So dopamine hormone, you must have been known about the various hormones present in our body which are regulated, secreted and help in the maintenance of our bodily working. So one of these hormone is the dopamine hormone. So let's look towards the dopamine hormone. Its location. Neurotransmitter produced in brain, mainly in hypothalamus and adrenal gland. Okay, so it is very important to know that where the dopamine is secreted and how it is produced and how it works. So you can see a diagram. You must be knowing about the parts of the brain. You know hypothalamus and thalamus. Okay, thalamus is above the hypothalamus. It is present. The dopamine is secreted or produced through where, that is a hypothalamus area and adrenal gland, that is a part of the brain. When we focus about the main part where the dopamine is secreted, it is a substantia nigra. Okay, it is the neurons which transmits the neurotransmitters. What is dopamine? It is a neurotransmitter. Where it is produced in the brain, specifically in the parts of hypothalamus and adrenal gland, specifically in the substantia nigra. It is a neurons who transmits the dopamine from brain towards the whole part of the body. Okay, so dopamine is also known as fight or flight hormone. You must have been heard about the fight and flight situation. That is fight to overcome the situation, or flight means without overcoming the situation we get flight, means we run away from the situation. So this act of fight and flight which we produce through our action, it comes to a dopamine hormone which is released by our brain, mainly hypothalamus, that is substantia nigra. Okay, so this was all about the location of the dopamine hormone. Let's see what are the dopamine receptors. Now dopamine produce various receptors like D1, D2, D3, D4, D5. So these receptors are responsible for the movements, actions, moods, fight and flight response of our body. So D1 receptors, okay, dopamine first receptor, it is responsible for influencing our memory, attention and renal function. Okay. These are some of the physiological functions which are maintained by D1 receptor, like receptor influencing memory. Okay, dopamine is also responsible for the memory action, to recognition, cognition. This all are comes under D1 receptor. Next is the attention. You must have been known that dopamine is responsible for the attention gain. Deficiency of dopamine also causes attention deficit hyperreactive disorder. So this D1, when the D1 receptor reduced production by our brain, this reduction of dopamine or deficiency of dopamine, you must have been seen here. Deficiency of dopamine causes Parkinson disease, schizophrenia and ADHD, that is attention deficient hypersensitive disorder, where that's what the D1 receptor plays a crucial role. Next is the renal function. How dopamine helps in renal function? Dopamine is also responsible for the maintenance of blood pressure. Okay. What does dopamine is? Dopamine helps to provide a relaxation, a pleasurable hormone. It causes a vasodilation of the arteries. It causes vasodilation of the arteries where the blood flow in regular amount. When arteries get constricted, it causes vasodilation. This work is also done by dopamine. So renal function. Dopamine is also responsible for the renal function. What does they do? They help to remove excess sodium and urine production. Excess sodium excretion and urine production to excrete out from the body. This function is also done by dopamine action. Simultaneously, it is also responsible for the regulation of the blood pressure. That's what dopamine is very important. Same way D1 receptor. D2, D3, D4 receptors comes. What is the function of these three receptors? Regulating locomotions, that is the movements of our body, that we have seen fight or flight. This is the movement which carried out by our body. This is also carried out by the D2, D3, D4 receptors. Sleep and learning ability. That's what I said. Hyper attention deficient hyperactive disorder, where our attention seeking ability is also influenced by D1 receptor, and learning activity gaining skills, this activities is also done by D2, D3 and D4 receptors. Simultaneously, it is also responsible for the sleep. Okay, where a low production of the dopamine causes low production of the dopamine causes Parkinson's disorder, schizophrenia, attention deficient hyperreactive disorder. This is all done by these receptors. When we focus about specifically D2 receptor, it is responsible for production of prolactin or prolactin hormone. What is the function of prolactin hormone? In a lactating mother, this prolactin hormone helps plays a crucial role in production of the milk. Okay, as you can see, prolactin responsible for milk production and certain reproductive functions. This is also a very important function of the dopamine hormone, specifically D2 hormone. Okay, this all comes under the functions of dopamine receptor. I hope you must have been getting what I am trying to say. Okay, let's begin to the functions. Reward and motivation. Dopamine is responsible for the reward. When we achieve something good, we get a pleasurable feeling. It comes due to the release of the dopamine through our brain. Okay, that is creating a sense of pleasure upon achieving goals. When we achieve goal, reward, a sense of pleasure we get. This reward chemical reinforce positive behavior. This dopamine receptor provides a positive behavior to our actions. Okay. Mood regulation and mood control. As I said, attention deficient hyperactive disorder, anxiety, depression. When the dopamine is reduced, it causes anxiety and depression. Same way, mood regulation. When a dopamine is released in a proper amount, it gives a pleasurable feeling, a sex drive, a good feeling, a feeling of being motivated. While when this dopamine gets reduced, it causes depression, anxiety. Okay, when dopamine is reduced or low produced, and when dopamine is properly produced, is called mood regulation, mood control, feel good hormone. Dopamine is also known as feel good hormone. Okay, so this is the function of the dopamine. These are also the function of the dopamine receptors. So there is one trick to understand the dopamine function, that is MMCM. Okay, let's begin. What is MMCM? M is the memory, movement, cognition and mood. These four steps or these four words defines the dopamine. First is a memory. As we have seen, ADHD, it occurs due to deficiency of dopamine. So this ADHD, attention, is regulated by dopamine, that is memory. Movement, that is fight and flight ability to bodily actions, this is also maintained by dopamine. Cognition, as I said, cognition, that is learning ability, grasping ability, memory, cognitive intellectual ability, this is also maintained by dopamine. And mood, that is depression, mania, due to the deficiency of dopamine, this is also maintained by dopamine. So MMCM is a very easy trick to understand what is dopamine. M, that is movement, M, that is memory, C, that is cognition, and M, that is mood. So this is all about M and CM, that is dopamine. Now let's see the deficiency and hypersecretion of the dopamine, how it affects our body. So when dopamine is secreted in high amount, it causes high sexual drive, that is mania, highly energetic, highly neurotransmitters which are regulated, and a highly movement of coordination occurs in the body, that is high sex drive. Europhic, that is highly energetic, highly sexual desire, or highly coordination of the neurotransmitters occurs in the body. It affects mood, movement, memory, cognition, everything. High energized, mania, obesity, and addictions. These are the high secretion of the dopamine action. Meanwhile, deficiency, that is low secretion of dopamine, causes Parkinson's disease, schizophrenia, attention deficit hypersensitivity disorder, or hyperreactivity. Low deficient, that is depression, anxiety. These are all about the deficiency and hypersecretion of the dopamine. So this was all about the dopamine. If you have any queries, just tell me. Thank you for watching.